on one occasion that you and Ron were the only individuals in that house.
That's right.
Well, if, as you've always maintained to me, that y'all were the only two that are in that house, when that pop goes off,
Yep.
it was either Ron or it was you.
Welcome back to Interrogation Chamber. We have a very unsettling story to unravel with you today. Police were called to a home in Georgia after a man was found dead from a gunshot wound. At first, it seemed like a suicide, but detectives soon realized that something wasn't right. The investigation led to a shocking interrogation as they searched for truth about Ron Willoughby's death. If you guys want to see more videos like this, I'm uploading every day on Interrogation Chamber, and let's just dissect this story.
911.
413 Loveless Drive. There's some gunshots go off inside the house.
Someone called you?
Yeah, the lady that she just called me and said she can think some gunshots went off in the bedroom. She got scared. She just run out the door and called me.
Okay, where is she at now?
She's headed back to the house.
Okay, we'll get one on the way.
When we arrived on the scene and pulled up in front of the house, Kay Willoughby was standing outside and said that her husband, Ron Willoughby, had shot himself inside their residence. When I walked in the bedroom, I immediately recognized the victim laying in the bed under the cover. When I uncovered him, he had one bullet hole in the center of his chest, and there was some blood stains on the sheets.
First responders show up to render medical aid. When they found that Ron was warm to the touch, they thought there might be some chances of life, but Ron was deceased at that point.
I had been involved in more than 100 suicides involving weapons. That was the first and only time I've ever seen anybody shoot himself in the chest. Also, if he had shot himself, there was no way he could have pulled the covers all the way up to his neck and covered himself completely.
Nothing in the world was pointing towards Ron shooting himself at that point.
Just didn't feel right, didn't look right. We needed to call the Georgia Bureau of Investigation in.
Shortly after I arrived, we had determined we were going to attempt to collect gunshot residue from Mrs. Willoughby's hands.
The crime lab came back with gunshot residue on her hand. At this point, the evidence seemed to be overwhelming that Kay was involved in Ron's death.
We arrived at the house a little after 8 o'clock in the evening. When we went inside, Mr. Willoughby was sitting in a chair in the front room. He said he was going the next day to talk to his attorney and put in the paperwork for divorce. His main question was, is my wife going to have access to the house? Is she still going to be able to get in here and get her stuff? And he's like, in all honesty, I fear for my life because she's the beneficiary of my will. And he's like, I'm afraid she might do something because she will benefit.
So detectives arrived. There was a gunshot wound and there was covers pulled over his head. So it's already not looking good. So let's just continue to dive into the story.
It was important to get her locked into a statement and basically just keep the cooperation going.
All right, Miss Willoughby, if you would just basically give me your story on what happened today.
Okay. I woke up probably about 6 o'clock. I was in the den on the love seat. I was watching TV. And I get up and I go to the bathroom. And he's sitting on the couch.
So the last time you saw him, he was sitting in the room.
I can tell you it was before 9 o'clock because I can tell you what I was watching and it went off at 9 o'clock. I heard a pop. And I was thinking, what in the hell was that? And I was like, oh my God, that sounded like a gun. I got my pocketbook, I didn't even have any shoes on. And I went out the door. I said, I gotta find Willie C.
Who is Willie C?
Willie C. Grant, good friend of both of ours, has been for 30-something years. So I got up the street and I tried to call Willie C. And he answered the phone. And I said, I think Ron has shot himself.
Her actions that morning were odd. After she heard this loud noise that she believed to be a gunshot, she doesn't contact law enforcement. She calls a friend, and he actually made the call to 911.
It's not adding up, Miss Willoughby.
I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, you have to understand what it looks like from the outside.
Well, I don't know what it looked like.
Well, I mean, I got a police report from him saying that he thinks you're going to kill him, and then he shows up dead today.
Kay's whole statement was shrouded with several lies. One of the things that really stood out was she heard a handgun go off around 9 o'clock, but the call to law enforcement wasn't until 9:30.
We know from looking at her phone that she called Willie C. at 9:30, so there's a half hour of unaccounted for time in Kay's story.
Okay, this is Special Agent Tony Williamson conducting an interview with Rhonda Willoughby. Your dad is married?
They're in the middle of a divorce.
Okay, who was his wife?
Kay Willoughby. It was just him and her there.
How long had they been married?
Not even 11 months. He had the feeling that she's been running around with her ex-husband, which is Tommy Woods, and the whole time.
So Kay and him have not been married for more than 11 months. So it's already seeming fishy when evidence is pointing directly towards her. But it kind of seems obvious, but we'll continue to dive in.
They have been seeing one another.
Okay. Have you talked to Kay about what happened?
No, I do not want to speak to her. I looked at her this morning and said, "You killed my daddy." And she just looked at me with a big smile and walked off. He told me just the other day, Rhonda, if something happens to me, he said, "I promise you I would never do anything to hurt myself." He looked at me with a straight face and told me that.
They went and interviewed Tommy Woods, and he said Kay was with me the night before, and they've had a romantic relationship between the two. So she had lied about her whereabouts the night before the murder. Ron spoke with a number of people in the weeks leading up to his death, and the universal theme is that Kay had threatened him and that he was in fear that she was going to kill him. For instance, Ron Willoughby had a ex-wife, and she said Ron had talked to her the night before and said, "I think something's going to happen to me tonight. Call me tomorrow morning by 7 o'clock, and if I'm not here, then call the police because she finally got me." But in the state of Georgia, anything that Ron was saying outside of the court would be hearsay, and there really wasn't a lot of certainty as to whether or not these witnesses would have been allowed to testify, and then Kay could walk out with a not guilty verdict. One of the changes that allowed us to go forward was that Georgia adopted a new evidence code in court that allowed in those witnesses.
I mean, let's just cut to the chase.
Yes.
Part of the reason that we're here, the medical examiner who examined this, he's always been of the opinion that that gunshot wound was not self-inflicted. And you've told me on more than one occasion that you and Ron were the only individuals in that house.
That's right.
Well, if, as you've always maintained to me, that y'all were the only two that are in that house, when that pop goes off,
Yep.
it was either Ron or it was you.
That's right.
And if the medical examiner is telling me that it wasn't Ron,
Well, he needs to lose his job. No, I know. Because I never shot nobody.
It was extremely valuable to know that she was sticking to her story that Ron must have killed himself. We wanted to make sure there wasn't going to be some kind of surprise defense.
so he files for divorce and ends up dead about a week later. Why would he shoot himself and basically leave it to where you could get everything?
Because since I...
So basically, he's filing for divorce. His wife's obviously not too happy about that. And also the way that he was found dead is obviously mysterious. He's got a gunshot wound with the covers pulled over his head, but I'd also like to continue to see how this plays out.
Less than a year. This tells you how much sense he had. He's had his will changed 4 times.
Well, when he changed it this time, he ended up dead.
That's true. I didn't know he changed the will.
In that paperwork, I'm assuming he took you off everything, right?
That's right.
To get nothing.
That's right.
But prior to that, you would have got something.
Everything would have been split.
We knew that there was a will out there that left a lot of money to Kay, and if she killed him, the balance of everything would go to Kay.
So you're going to maintain that he shot himself?
I certainly am. Because that's the truth.
That's Kay's
The
truth.
God's honest truth. I'm not a liar.
Lied to me once. Sit back for a minute.
I felt confident the interview didn't paint her in the best light. I knew that the jury's going to see not only did she not tell the truth, she doubles down, avoids it, has a smug attitude about it.
That jury heard the recordings, so they knew she had lied about her whereabouts the night before the murder and the morning of the murder. And then her 30-minute time gap, her not calling 911, the gunshot residue, and the interviews showed there was a huge financial motive for Kay to carry this out.
It was fishy from the jump. She called 911 saying that her husband killed himself, gunshot went off in the bedroom, but when they got there, the blanket was pulled up over his head. There was just a bunch of lies. I mean, he changed his will right before he died, a week before, called his family saying that he had suspicions that if he changed his will, something might happen to him. But if you guys want to see more videos like this, I'm uploading every day on Interrogation Chamber. You can like, share, comment, and subscribe to Interrogation Chamber, and I'll check you guys in the next one.